Onewheel in August of this year, and it's a ton of fun. It's December right now. I put about 200 miles on it already. I ride it pretty much every day. I can do errands on it. I can go out and meet friends on it. Mostly though, I just kind of zip around campus. And it's, like I said, it's a lot of fun. It's a useful tool, but it also takes up a lot of floor real estate when I'm just setting it down to charge it. So I thought, based on a couple of designs I'd seen and some projects I'd seen people make, I can make a stand for it to kind of get it up off the ground, make something that is functional, looks good, and is an opportunity for me to kind of practice some more with woodworking tools. So I made a video about what that looks like and how I was able to put it together, and I'm excited to share that with you. What I eventually wound up with is something that looks a little bit like this.
So this project started out as so many do, inspired by Adam Savage. He did a one-day build about a stand that he made for his Onewheel. I really liked the look, I really liked the function, so I decided to start modeling my inspiration off of his. I got into it though and realized it was more complicated than I want, so I turned instead to some of the official Onewheel stands. This one's really straightforward, just up and down, but I liked the curves and kind of negative space that was in this version of it, so you'll see I drew heavily from that for my inspiration. So sketching it out, I knew that I wanted to have that empty space and an angle for the Onewheel to go upright, and it's going to do that out of plywood. But rather than this be one solid piece of plywood, I wanted to engineer some gaps into it to make it look kind of sort of hollow. So you see I have some spacers at anywhere that there's an end joint, and that is something that I was trying to figure out how to lay out and what I was going to cut out. Another thing I needed to figure out was dimensions. So I jumped into Illustrator and started sketching out some designs. And you can see this is my first one, kind of proof of concept, based on that first official Onewheel model. Laid everything out and got a laser cut prototype just to see how it fit. This is just out of chipboard, so it's very thin. I glued up the whole thing just to get a proof of concept of those spacers going and to see how this fit would hold up against the Onewheel. And you can see I'm holding up, yeah, the board fits, but what's the angle? I couldn't do any sort of actual testing because it's just cardboard, so I wasn't able to set it up right. So before I got into wood, I decided, you know what, let's go ahead and do that negative space version, the kind of sweepier, curvier version. Got it all set up, got it ready to go on the X-Carve, but we had just been doing a ton of CNC cutting recently in the shop, and based on my design, I knew it was going to take way too long to go through the CNC machine. So I decided to go kind of everything and freehand it. Freehand it based off a template. So you can see I grabbed the Onewheel, laid it on some cardboard, set it up at an angle that I thought would be good, and got to tracing out my design. You can see here I'm trying to figure out the patterning for the spacers. I went with one that had more gaps in there to just use, again, less plywood, be more efficient with my materials. And then I got to taping and gluing everything up. Rather than cut the same template out multiple times, I glued all of my plywood together as one solid piece. You can see here I'm putting just masking tape on the pieces and then using some adhesive spray to get those taped pieces to attach to each other, and later on I'll be able to remove the taped pieces from each other without damaging the wood. Laying out the template on top, I just used a glue stick to get it to stick to the stack of wood and started running it through the bandsaw. This was a lot of fun. Threw a fresh blade on there, so I was like cutting through butter, and I was able to get a nice clean roughing out of the pieces. Disassembled them after I cut out some of the spacers and the braces, and just really taped them together with some masking tape to see if they would stack up, to see how it looked. And I loved it. It was awesome. It was the exact sort of kind of skeletal, kind of solid but kind of not look I was going for. And it felt sturdy enough that I was able to just drop the Onewheel into this without even getting glued up. So I was really excited to go ahead and get the glue up going. And I'm sorry for that horrible framing of this shot, but you can see my process. I lay it on a piece, I put down the spacers, I used a combination of wood glue and CA glue to get it to stick solid with the wood glue and set up quickly with the CA glue. Started throwing it through a couple of sanding phases, finally finishing up with some hand sanding, and it was pretty much where I wanted it to be. You can see here I got the full 360, you can see all those negative spaces, and you can see here it holds up the Onewheel like a dream.
So that's it. that's how we got to the end of the journey of this first version of the Onewheel Stand. I'm really happy with how it came out. It is by no means perfect. There's a lot of choices I would make differently for the next time I make it, which I'm planning on doing. The plywood itself, kind of junky. There's holes all over it, so I did my best to patch it up. But that's part of the reason I'm choosing to leave it just unfinished. Other than that, it's just to give it that kind of raw look. There are some cleaner cuts I could do, some better assembly techniques for next time, and I'm still not loving some of the corner braces. They just kind of look weird, so I'll play around with different designs for that. But functionally, it's awesome. Aesthetically, I like what I got here, and I'm really excited to make another version of it at some point in the future. Thanks for checking this out. Hope you enjoyed the build.